Well, hello and welcome back to GearHeadGeeks. After getting our TS250 running, it is now time to get this thing back to being a nice motorcycle. It has been sitting outside for at least 30 years, so there's a lot of rust. The wiring is completely shot. The cables are completely shot. The bike is basically straight, but we're going to remove as much rust as we possibly can. We're going to polish up things. We're going to repaint the frame. We'll get the engine looking beautiful again. We're going to go through the whole thing and make it really nice. So let's get to that. We'll go in and get started and start stripping the rest of this junk off this bike, find out what we need, and we can then continue on, make it nice. So basically the thing we have to do here, let's just get every piece of junk off of this that needs to come off. We've got hinges, the carburetor and all that stuff needs to come off so the engine can come out. We got all the bolts to clean. We got a bunch of stuff. But this wiring needs to come off first. So some of this stuff has just been lopped off. Let's see what we need here. Looks like we need an 8mm, and we need a Phillips screwdriver for that. So let's go on ahead and remove the pipe. Got a couple of another one here, and there's a spring up front we need to deal with. We've got a spring puller, and let's see if we can get this guy to come off without too much issue. That's no problem. Ain't in very good shape, but there it is. So, 2 bolts in the spring, and hopefully this guy will pop right off of there. Yeah. And this pipe is in really good condition. We are going to make this bad boy beautiful again. It's not dented. It doesn't have 80 million coats of paint on it. It's rusty, but hey, we can fix it. And we'll pop off the curb now that we know it runs. Get this guy off of here. No sweat. Okay, so now the engine is basically out of there. I think what we're going to do is we're going to just start blowing away the bolts and get this engine popped out of the frame. All the wires are disconnected. The oil pump line is disconnected. We can leave the cylinder alone for now. We can plug it off because we got some more cleaning to do and some more scrubbing once we get it into a place where we can work on it. Because the way we're going to do this is we're not going to be doing a complete frame strip. No, we're going to clean up all this stuff. We're going to repaint it. Once the engine's out, we can get everything. I can straighten out this brake lever, which is pushed in, twisted up. We'll get this all back to exactly where it needs to go. We got some foot peg work to do. All these things are bent. All these other pieces are... The battery box is good though. That's kind of nice. And the air box is not in bad shape either. It's rusty, but it's not in bad shape. So we'll get this engine out of here, and then we can start cleaning up all of this, start blowing off all this rust, get a coat of paint on it, start getting all this to look brand new again. We'll go all the way through this stuff, make it all look nice. We'll pull apart what we need to, but for the most part, we're just not going to have this thing in a million pieces. We'll do it the way that you could do it at home. You know, yeah, we just want to make it look better. We want to do a nice job, but we can do a very nice job without completely stripping it off and completely stripping the frame. We can do this. This is more of the DIY method. Everything is all rusted together, so this ought to be interesting. we may be taking, there's so much junk on this, it doesn't even want to, nope. Okay, all the bolts are out. Okay, this line is loose. It's just kind of so stiff it's hard to move. You don't want to break it. I'm gonna move the camera a little bit. We can't get this guy to pop out of here. It wants to. This is not the lightest little engine there ever was. I may have to remove this. It looks like it's going to be in the way. Maybe. Yeah, it is. So let's get it out of there. The oil moving around in there, and it's doing a little bit of dampening. Damping, not dampening, damping. So here we go. Let's see if I can't get this to. That's interesting. Alrighty. Boy, this thing weighs a ton. A two-stroke. Oh well, it is what it is. Okay, engine is out. And that thing needs a little bit of TLC. But for the most part, we've got everything ready to start cleaning. We can start pulling all this stuff out of here. We'll get this all painted up beautifully. We'll get all the rust off of it. We'll get all this stuff off. And we can continue on. So to get prepared for doing any work in here, we've got, we're going to have to remove the foot pegs to get this all cleaned up. We got to bend this brake lever back. But one of the things that you want to do is just scrape off some of the crud. You know, I'm using a scraper that's not going to cut very much, but there's a lot of rust and crud. And a lot of this stuff will come off fairly well. I'm just keeping a tray underneath it so that I don't have too much stuff on the lip that I have to clean up. But there's just a lot of grease and crud that just needs to come off of there. So one of the next things we need to contend with here is this brake. So a lot of times what I use to try and fix some of this stuff, doesn't mean I'm going to make it, but I'm going to give it a rip, is get this thing back into the shape it is. What's happened is it's been crashed, so it's been pushed in this way and up. So it needs to come out so that this guy here is about level with, about even with the peg. So the best way to start in on that, and again, I don't know if this is going to work or not, depending on how tough this is, but we're going to grab this guy here and we're going to give it a twist. Actually, I'm going to grab him up here and give him a twist maybe. See if we can't get him to come out a little bit the way that he came in. Okay, so it's coming out pretty good actually. It's a stout one though. Okay, so now we're in much better shape here. So now the next thing to do is we're going to give this guy a twist. And I may have to move the camera because I need to get at that spot. So I'll move this to here. And let's see what we can do with this. Okay. Now, we need to get this guy a bit of a twist back. Can get a better position here. All right, getting better. Yeah, this needs to straighten down a little bit. So I need to get something I can get over the top of that, a big enough piece of pipe that I can grip onto it and push it down. But anyway, it's better. Okay, so as you can see, we got a nice coat of paint on this. I'm going to pull the camera around over here to the engine so you can see what I've done. Okay, so looking at the engine, I have taken and scrubbed it within an inch of its life. All the crust that was in here is all gone. It's starting to look pretty good. I put a little aluminum brightener on it. The head still needs a little work. The cylinder needs work. We're going to be polishing out all these cases. The bottom, I don't know if we can see it. Get this thing out of the way. But the bottom is basically cleaned up. Can you see the bottom? Yeah, kind of. Hey, look. Yeah. Anyway, as you can see, the bottom's all cleaned up and nice. There's a couple little spots. I'll scrape the rest of any little bit of garbage off of there, get all this off, and then we can put the engine back in the frame after all that dries. But everything is in really, really nice shape at the moment. We are really moving forward on making this thing nice. So what I think I'm going to do here is I have taken this over to the wire wheel and got most of the crud off of it. These bolts are in really ugly, horrible shape. They've been sitting around forever. So I think what we'll do here with these is we're just going to put them in the ultrasonic and let them cook for a little while. Let's just see if we can get some of the crust off of them. I mean, it sure isn't going to hurt. And if it doesn't do the job, well, it doesn't do the job. Fine, no problem. But throwing them in the ultrasonic sure isn't going to do any harm. At least all the grease and oil will come off of them. As a matter of fact, I should throw this in there, but it probably won't get covered up. And to give you a bit of contrast, let's take a look at our frame now. This is the part where we painted to do the put the engine back in, and I did paint the brake pedal because I'm there. But then we can see the contrast of what it used to look like. And this has been cleaned and scrubbed multiple times, pressure washed multiple times. As you can see, it was really, truly nasty. Up in here you can see, and this has been derusted even, and it's still just pretty evil. And then here's where I just put a little bit of paint on that, bringing that back to life. All of this stuff is really, really clean. All the grease is gone. All the, if there's any extra crud on it, I clean it and scrub it. But as you can see, right in here, it's all real nice. Swing arm is going to be redone, but where our frame is, this is great. We're looking good. We're almost ready to put the engine back in. And going around to the other side, I've gone on ahead, and the engine is pretty sanitary at this point. Again, we're going to be doing some polishing and cleaning, but the crud is off of it. Front of the engine's all nice and clean. I mean, this is really terrible, but we're going to do a polish on this baby, and it will be beautiful when we're done. So, just for a bit of contrast, yeah, here you can see and this has all been cleaned and de-rusted, so it looks kind of good at the moment, but it really is pretty gnarly. Sprocket's pretty gnarly. I don't know what's going on with that. It looks nice and shiny for some weird reason, but all these nuts and bolts are terrible. So, and you can see the back of the frame here. It's not good, but wait till we're done. It'll be awesome. So, how to go from this crusty bolt, and you can see around the sides it's pretty nasty, to this looking almost brand new. These are two bolts that were holding on the same battery tray in the same shape, so let's go fix these bad boys up. So, to start off with, we take a little bit of Super Clean, see if I can get out of the way here, some Super Clean, and you just give it a spray. And what that does is prepares the surface really, really well. This is a small stainless steel brush, and I'm just going to brush it a little bit just to get it clean. Then I'll rinse it off in the sink, and it looks okay, but here's the secret. Aluminum brightener. Aluminum cleaner and brightener. You just take this stuff on zinc, and you can see it's foaming up. And all you have to do is take that same little brush and just give it a little bit of a scrub. Go around the edges, go around the side. You don't want to take too long, because if you go too long, it'll actually burn through some of the zinc. But take this, make sure it looks relatively good. Give it a rinse. Rinse it off all you can. Wipe this thing off. And there you have it. Nice, shiny, and almost like new. And that is probably a 60-year-old bolt that has never been serviced at all. And now, look at, we have a nice pair of freshly, nice-looking bolts ready to go back on our motorcycle. Well, now that this is all cleaned up and nice and it's ready to go, none of the nuts and bolts are ready to go, but we can set the engine back in the frame, and what that will do is allow me to get things out of the way and be ready to start putting things together on this end. But I can tell you right now, this is no lightweight engine, that's for sure. This thing is heavy. But it is what it is. Wires in the way here. Need to lift up the back a little bit. I may have to get up top to do this. Can't wrestle this thing in. There we go. And that's about where it goes. Okay, so let's see how the ultrasonic did on our nasty nuts and bolts. Didn't need to drop that on the ground. So this was completely covered with rust and crud, and it's not looking too bad. I had wire brushed these guys off a little bit at first, so let's take a look at what they look like. Look what's happened. The paint is just rubbing off with my finger. I'm kind of impressed with that. It just cooked that paint right off of there. It turned it to powder. Wow, that's really cool. Back has got no paint on it at all. So let's take a look at this other one. Same drill here. Paint has just been turned to powder. This side, same thing. Comes right off. Oh, that's neat. All the crud and rust and all that stuff just is gone. We'll wipe this up a little bit and it'll be fine. It'll be close to be ready to paint. That's nice. So let's take a look at our nuts and bolts. They leave a bit to be desired. There's no doubt about it. They, I mean, you can still see there's some zinc plating on here. There's some zinc plating left on here, and we can restore that and make that look really, really nice. We might be able to get this one to look pretty nice. As with this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. So what I'm going to do here before I work on the heads of these, I am not going to wire brush these at all, but I am going to wire brush off all the extra rust on these. So I'll be back when that's done. So now I have removed all the extra rust and crust off of that, and I said I wasn't going to remove the, I was not going to wire wheel this, and there's a reason for that. This still has zinc on it, and what we want to do here is we want to restore that zinc. And we can do it. It may not be perfect, but this is a 60-year-old bolt that has just been abused to no end. So let's see what we can do with it. And we'll take a quick look at it. What have we spent? 30 seconds on this silly thing? Now how's that for a look? A nice shiny bolt that's 60 years old that was just totally beat up, and look what we've done to it with just a couple little chemicals in a few minutes time. And I'm going to do that to all of them, and it'll be ready to go. At least some of these will be ready to go back in. And so now that our bolts are all looking better, we can start getting them ready to put back in. We'll get the engine kind of centered up to where it needs to be. Bolt goes right in. Look how nice and shiny that is. So we have the bottom bolt, and we should be able to put that one in without too much issue. Holding it down. Yep, goes right on in there. We may have to give it a bit of a tap, but that's okay. And there it is. So our two bolts are in. The paint is drying on our front mounts, but we've got our engine basically in there. I'm going to go in and clean up the nuts and stuff on it, but that's a start on this. And our all polished up bolts and our nice freshly painted engine mount. Now I'm just going to start taking apart the rear wheel here so that we can start removing the swing arm, and we'll get some paint on this guy, and then that way we'll be able to start putting things back together. Now I've got a crane here that I've got over here, and I've got it hooked to this, and all I can do is I can go on ahead. Oh, really? You know, I wonder why the phone always rings when you got your hands full and they're dirty and whatever. Never any other time. But what we have here is, let me get this up in the air just a little, get the pressure off of it. There we go, pressure's off. The axle really doesn't look all that bad. I'm surprised. Things aren't terrible in here, just a little dirty, a little bit of rust on things. They'll clean up real nice. We'll polish this bad boy up, make it beautiful. It's going to be really nice. It's not terrible. The rear sprocket assembly just needs a lot of love. It's really all that it needs. It's just kind of ugly. But this is a polished piece in there. That's going to look great. And we'll wipe this guy off. Oh, he's just, I mean, this swing arm bolt is just about like new. That's amazing. That's good. At least I don't have to do a bunch of work to it just to make it nice. We got some work to do on it. The insides of it don't look terrible. Well, we'll work on it and see what it takes to get it right. I think it's going to be fine. Clean it up and crimp it over again. It'll be good. And the rust and pitting in here is stupendous. So we've got a lot of work to make this guy look good again. But this is all stripped down and it is ready for a little bit of paint. Okay, we're just going to start taking some lacquer thinner and just start going over this frame and figure out what we need to do to make it look, to paint it up and get it nice. There might be a few things we need to work on that's getting some of this old ugly dirt off. And we'll probably have to do a little sanding here and there. Time to get some paint in the bottom sections of this thing so that we can move our way up. We now have a nice painted frame that we can start assembling. This needs to dry a whole lot. I got to get in here a little bit. I'll wait for this to dry so I can hook onto that. But other than that, we are in good shape as far as the back is concerned. Then we just need to start in on this nasty, nasty swing arm. It's gonna need a little bit of love, but we'll get it. It'll be beautiful. All right, so I've gone on ahead and it's been overnight. We let some paint dry. Got the swing arm all painted up. So I need to, I'll take a look at it here. I got fresh grease in here and I have put some grease on these caps and they kind of make it stick a little bit. Swing arm's looking nice. So all we got to do is just stick it in there. Cleaned up and fresh, nice new grease. And this is a relatively simple operation on this guy. Just take it and you push it on through. Swing arm is in. I semi-cleaned up one of the shocks. It doesn't look too bad at the moment. It'll get a little more love. Put that there. Okay, so swing arm is on. I've cleaned up all of this. I straightened and I went over to the press and straightened this guy out, so he's actually got a real nice shape to him. He's level the way he needs to be. He's perfectly perpendicular to the frame, so that's going to look good. Throw a little Bel-Ray 6-in-1 on it just to give it oh yeah, that made a big difference. And I think what I'll do here, I'm going to throw a little bit of this. I've lubed up the cable, but I need to give it a little more, so I think I'll just give this guy another shot here. I went over with a wire brush and kind of got this guy sorted out a little bit. He's a lot better than he was. He was pretty gnarly. And I picked up a set of wire brushes and that you can put in a drill, and that cleans up things pretty nicely, especially when you need to get in some of the smaller areas. It's like this has been repaired, so I think I'll clean it up a little bit. And cleaned up, get it smoothed out a little bit. Everything is clean. Just throw a little bit of wipe this down with some lacquer thinner and throw a little paint on it. The kickstand was really rusted in here, but we've got it kind of cleaned up. We're just going to go on ahead and throw some paint on a couple of these parts. I have to work on the foot pegs because they're not nasty anymore. They're all cleaned up, but the pegs themselves need a little bit of help. That's okay, we'll get it. Take this rag here and we'll kind of spray things on top of that. And away we go. So we have completely got this part of the frame all done. It's all clean and nice in here. Everything is good. The swing arm is nice. The we'll be working on the shocks a little more later. So the only thing that we have left to do is a little bit in the front, and that's how you paint the frame. So that is our frame completely painted, ready to go on to the next step. We're going to be removing this front end, and I got to work on the forks and all the bearings and stuff in here, and we'll repaint the triple trees, but everything is all painted. So that kind of gives you an idea how you can go on ahead and do something like this and just pull out the pieces, paint it, and then start putting everything back on. So that is how you go on ahead and paint a frame without going through and stripping it down to absolutely nothing. The way we're stripping it down is we take off a section, paint it, put it back together, and everything, it keeps it fairly easy. You don't have all these parts laid out all over the place. It's fairly easy to do, and you can do it in sections. You don't have to do it all at once. But anyway, that's how it's done, and thanks for watching, and we will see you next time here on GearHeadGeeks. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and again, we'll see you next time.